All right, today we are diving headfirst into one of the most radical, most provocative texts in all of English literature, William Blake's Proverbs of Hell. So buckle up, because we're about to turn your entire understanding of good and evil completely upside down. So let's just start with this one question, because it gets right to the heart of what Blake was all about. What if all the things that society tells us are evil or sinful? What if they aren't about damnation at all? What if they're actually the very engine of human genius and creativity? You know, to really get the Proverbs of Hell, you have to see them for what they are. This isn't just poetry, it's a revolutionary manifesto. This was Blake's direct assault on the suffocating moral laws of his time, a rebellion against the rigid rules of the church, for sure, but also against the cold, lifeless logic of the Enlightenment.
Blake's goal here was huge. We're talking about nothing less than the total liberation of the human spirit. He literally took the structure of the biblical book of Proverbs, the ultimate guide to living a good, righteous life, and he forged its shadow self, a kind of anti-scripture designed to shatter the chains of conventional morality.
And get this, Blake doesn't just disagree with the old morality. He completely rewrites the code from the ground up. So where you'd normally hear, pride goeth before a fall, Blake just flips it and says the pride of the peacock is the glory of God. When the Bible praises being cautious and prudent, Blake just scoffs, saying, prudence is a rich, ugly old maid courted by incapacity. He is systematically tearing down the entire value system of his society, one proverb at a time. So you've got to be asking, how does he justify all this? Well, it all starts with completely redefining what hell even is. In Blake's world, hell is not some pit of fire and brimstone. Forget all that. For him, hell is the furnace of creation. It's the home of passionate, wild, unrestrained energy. It's the very source of life, of art, of genius. And heaven? Well, in his view, heaven represents that sterile, restrictive, boring reason that he saw choking the life out of the world. And this, right here, is the absolute heart of his argument. All those impulses, those desires, those passions that church and society tell you to push down and suppress, Blake says no, no, no. That's your poetic genius screaming to be let out. For him, the only real sin is to let that divine spark die. This incredibly radical idea then leads to one of his most famous, and let's be honest, provocative beliefs, that real wisdom isn't found in being quiet and obedient. Nah, it's forged in the fires of actual, direct experience. Just let that sink in for a second. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. He's making this absolutely audacious claim that you can learn more by fully indulging your passions, even going way over the top, than you ever could from a lifetime of playing it safe. So what Blake is really doing is laying out this entirely new path to enlightenment. It starts by embracing your desires, not being ashamed of them. Then you have to go out and pursue direct, passionate experiences, not run away from them. And only then can you get to a wisdom that's truly authentic, because you've lived it, not just read about it in a book. And he even goes further, calling the suppression of desire a psychological pestilence. From his perspective, the real thing that corrupts your soul isn't acting on your impulses, it's bottling them up until they turn bitter and toxic inside you. To make all of this feel real, Blake often turns to the raw power of the natural world. He uses these incredible animal images to argue that conflict and tension aren't just things to be avoided, but are actually essential for any kind of progress. You see, Blake saw all of existence as this dynamic clash of opposites, what he called contraries. So on one side, you've got these forces of pure untamed energy and genius, the lions and tigers of wrath. They're wild, they're powerful, they're instinctive. And on the other side, you have the forces of reason and control, what he brilliantly calls the horses of instruction. They're tamed, they're obedient, and they're missing that divine spark. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. Blake isn't telling you to pick a side. This isn't a battle of good versus evil. His point is you need both. Without that constant productive tension between passionate energy and guiding reason, human progress just grinds to a halt. We'd all just collapse into a lifeless, boring state of conformity. But it's not just what Blake says that's so revolutionary, it's how he says it. I mean, the very structure of these proverbs is its own masterclass in rebellion. I mean, think about the style. He uses these short, punchy statements that sound just like scripture, and that is such a brilliant satirical move.
He's copying the authoritative tone of the Bible specifically to undermine its authority. And by making them paradoxical and throwing them at you in a nonlinear way, he's forcing you, the reader, to do the work. You have to connect the dots and build your own worldview from these amazing fragments. Society always wants to build a straight, easy, improved road for everyone to follow, right? But Blake just comes in and says, improvement makes straight roads, but the crooked roads without improvement are roads of genius. Real creativity, real genius, that's found on the messy, winding, individual paths that we have to carve out for ourselves. So, after this whole journey into Blake's infernal vision, what's the lasting message here? What are we supposed to take away from all this? When you really boil it all down, Blake's work is just this timeless, powerful battle cry for individual freedom. It's a foundational text for anyone who's ever felt boxed in by the rules, who's ever questioned authority, or who's ever wanted to just celebrate their own unique, weird energy. And for more than 200 years, these very ideas have been empowering artists, rebels, and free thinkers in their fight against social and religious oppression, all fueled by the radical power of the human imagination. So I'll leave you with this final thought, straight from Blake's world. He saw a society built with the stones of law, but he also knew it was filled with the potential for sweet delight. The question his work still poses to us, right here, right now, is this. In a world full of straight roads and restrictive rules, where are you going to find your crooked path of genius and your own sweet delight?